unconstitutional because Parliament does not review salaries of the executive. It implies that they want him to be paid what had been recommended earlier.
We hear from some MPs as the president is left in a dilemma.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
Top Story is brought to you by Bond Financial Services, your success, our passion. Belacra Mineral Water and the New Generation Mineral Water, as well as MyJoyOnline.com. It's also brought to you in association with Blue Rose Limited, a shelter for all. It is a dilemma imposed on the president by Parliament. By a unanimous decision, both the majority and the minority today rejected the president's request to Parliament to review the controversial increases in salaries for the executive. Now, with the proposed salary increases, the president would have earned 12,000 cedis monthly, while his vice takes home 10,500. Other ministers and deputy ministers would have earned between 8,000 and 9,000 cedis. But the president wanted that reviewed following a huge public backlash. Now, with Parliament's rejection of his request for a review today, he's left with two options: either to accept the pay increases or start the whole executive emolument review process afresh with the setting up of a presidential committee on emolument. My colleague Elton John Brobe was in Parliament today and joins me in the studio with more. Thank you very much, Elton. First, give us a background to today's decision by Parliament.
Well, you said it. The Professor Irama Adi committee that fixed the salary and emolument for the executive arm of government, with Joy News exclusively secured a copy of the report, recommended, and indeed Parliament voted to raise the consolidated monthly pay of the president to about 12,000 Ghana cedis, while the vice president pay was also raised to about 10,500 Ghana cedis, which was actually higher than the original 9,000 recommended for the vice president.
So clearly, the Iramadi committee had recommended 9,000 for the vice president.
Yeah, exactly.
But when Parliament considered it and approved it, that figure had jumped to 10,500.
It doesn't end there. Now, salary of ministers of state and their deputies under the approval are to earn between 8,000 and 9,000 Ghana cedis. Now, you said it, when this issue became a public knowledge in November last month, it raised a lot of eyebrow, with some Ghanaians calling for a review. The president's order for the review by the legislature under Article 71 of the Constitution was to align more realistically with the original recommendations by the Professor Irama Adi committee.
That was the request the president made of Parliament.
Exactly.
To align it with the Irama Adi committee report.
Exactly, Evans.
So why did Parliament decide today to reject that request?
Well, so many issues came up. Indeed, the meeting was held in camera now to consider the president's order. And after the meeting, members unanimously agreed to reject the proposal for a review. Now, for the members, the decision to reject the president's directive is to protect the sanctity of the House, because if it goes ahead and says we are reviewing what has already been agreed by the president per the white paper that was issued on the Irama Adi committee's report, it will amount to the House being dictated to by the executive arm, and will also compromise their neutrality and their checks and balance rule. So basically, these are the reasons that informed Parliament to reject the proposal by the executive arm of government to review the salary and emolument for the executive arm of government.
And we understand this decision that was taken today unanimously by Parliament was taken behind closed doors.
Exactly, behind closed doors. But they also provided a window of opportunity for the president, though. Now he has an opportunity to go back to the Irama Adi committee and make fresh, argument, or better to set up a new committee to decide how much our president, our vice, ministers of state and parliamentarians are to be paid.
Or he can decide to accept the Irama Adi committee's report. That's a dilemma he finds himself in now. Thank you very much, Elton John Brobe. He's our parliamentary correspondent there. And, well, some MPs have been justifying their decision to reject the president's request. MP for Isekuma Odobin Brakwa, PC Appeal for says the president's request was unconstitutional and deserved to be thrown out.
The request placed before us by the president was wrong, was unconstitutional, because Parliament does not review salaries of the executive. What should happen is the president appoints a committee to recommend and other benefits, fringe benefits, to the president or to the executive, and then to the legislature. That is what the Constitution says, Article 71, clauses 1 and 2. That's what it says. So after the committee has finished its report to the president refers the recommendation relating to the presidency to Parliament for approval. There is nowhere stated in the Constitution that Parliament shall review. Rather, Parliament shall give approval. So when the president asked us to review, then he acted on travaris.
And so that will explain the decision by Parliament not to accede to his request.
Yes, but I don't know whether it implies that they want him to repay what had been recommended earlier. Because as I said, Parliament has no power to review. So if Parliament has rejected it, and he also says doesn't want to, then the whole thing should be started all over again.
In other words, the only way to deal with this matter is to set up a new committee.
Excellent. You are very intelligent. Excellent. That's the way I see it.
The fear, though, is that if Parliament has refused to do this for the president, your own emoluments are in the hands of the president.
Yes, that is what the Constitution says.
You don't harbor any fear that the president might say, okay, if you decided to reject my request, then obviously I'm also going to exercise my prerogative not to give you what you want as far as emoluments are concerned.
Well, we have not asked what we want. What has been recommended for us, we have not said we like it or we don't like it.
You heard the MP for Esekuma Dobimbraka, PCRP Ofori there. So was Parliament right in rejecting the president's request to review the salary increases? Joining me with a perspective is the Vice President of the policy think tank, Imani Ghana. Thank you very much, Mr. Kofi Bento, for time here on Top Story. You from the start had opposed the increases. Was Parliament right or wrong in rejecting the president's request for review?
Good evening. I really don't think it's a matter of whether they were right or wrong. I didn't expect that they would come back and reject what they have been offered, and I don't think I'm alone in that particular expectation. If you are saying that Parliament has been asking for an income raise for so many years now, and they finally got it, and you expect that they will reject what was put on the table, I don't think that was reasonable. So frankly, it is not surprising to me that Parliament did not do that. I expect that they would approve it, they'll go ahead and endorse that amount of money. And really, we said it already.
In this case, though, the president, I recall when the story first broke, and reading the Ramade Committee's report, at least for the vice president, Parliament had increased the amount from somewhere around 9,000, that was original recommendation by Ramade, to 10,500. Now, when the thinking, President thought, well, review it, align it with the original recommendation. That will mean a reduction. Parliament today says, well, we have decided to increase it already and indeed maintain the 12,000 for you. That will mean that the president, as I've indicated, will have two issues to deal with. Either accept the increases or set up a committee to start this whole process again.
I mean, when this issue broke, the point we made was that it was difficult for the president to convince some of us that he did not see the report and forwarded it to Parliament and is now complaining about it. Now the horses have left the stable. Okay, I don't know what he can do about this particular issue anymore. We think that these increments are not morally justifiable given the situation that all of us are in. Frankly speaking, it is not so much about the quantum or the fact that they need to pay themselves more or any other issue concerning emoluments and whether everybody or anybody is paid well in this country. The fact of the matter is that we live in a system where most people who are on government payroll really don't think that their pay is enough. Not just parliamentarians or the executive or anybody for that matter. And we think that the leaders must show by example that they are working on this issue. The argument has been on the table that we should deal with issues of productivity first. And you have a situation where they have opted out of that situation, giving themselves an increment when the issues of productivity have not come to play at all. So the issue of whether the president is going to go back and have it amended, whether he's going to accept it or not, is not really the issue. The issue is that is this good going forward? And our estimation is that if these things pass, I don't think government will be able to satisfy any other worker, in the coming year or in the coming years. Because once you've done it for yourself, you should be able to do it for everybody else. And I think it's going to bode very, very, ill for, our fiscal, issues going into, the next 4 years. I don't see how we are going to hold back inflation if government payroll keeps bloating the way it is. There are 25 million Ghanaians, and less than 1 million are on government payroll. And these 1 million take so much of our national income, all right? And that is going to be a problem because that is going to bloat even further, given single-spine salary structure which we are dealing with. So it is really, really, really serious that our parliamentarians, for that matter, our leaders, have awarded themselves these fantastic sums of money. And I don't see how they are going to justify not giving everybody else an increment down the line.
So what should the president do now with that Eramade Committee's report that recommended those increases? What should he do?
The president has already made the worst mistake he could make in this particular situation. And that is what we said earlier when this thing broke. He should have rejected the findings or the recommendations of that committee when it landed on his table. And the excuse that he didn't know about it really would not wash. He has already let it pass. It's gone to Parliament. He cannot pull it back. Okay, so really the horses are out of the stable. I don't know what they are going to do about this particular situation, but frankly, I don't think anybody is going to be surprised because we think that when it comes to salary raises, the history has been that there will be unanimity in Parliament. They would award themselves these sums of money and pay it to themselves. And again, the issue is not how much money they are going to make. It is about the issues about productivity. Now, once these things have been done, I wonder what the effect will be on the wider populace and what it will be on government payroll and therefore our inflation issues.
Mr. Bento, thank you very much for your time here on Top Story. That's the Vice President of Imani Ghana, Kofi Bento, expressing his views about today's decision by Parliament to reject the President's request for them to review the Professor Rama Adi Committee's report that recommended some increases for the executive as far as pay is concerned. You want to stay with us because in 15 minutes we will look at this matter, try and get a sense of what the President makes of the Parliament decision today, speaking to his spokesperson on Newsnight. My name is Evans Mensah. Top Story is brought to you by Bond Financial Services, your success, our passion, Belacra Mineral Water, the new generation mineral water, as well as myjoyonline.com, plus Blue Rose Limited, a shelter for all.